This is a recording of the KC Secular AA Speaker Meeting held every Saturday night at 7 o'clock p.m. at HJ's Youth and Community Center, 6425 Warnell Road, Kansas City, Missouri. This is episode 9, and our speaker is Ginny V.
All right, welcome to the Secular Speaker Meeting. I'm Simon, and I'm an alcoholic. I've asked Greg to read our preamble.
AA is a fellowship of people who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover. We have no dues or fees for membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organization, or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help others to achieve sobriety.
Thanks, Greg.
Our secular group attempts to maintain a tradition of free expression and to conduct a meeting where all may feel free to express any doubts or disbeliefs that they have and to share their own personal form of spiritual experience, their search for it, or their rejection of it. In keeping with the AA tradition, we do not endorse or oppose any form of religion or atheism. Our only wish is to help those who want recovery without having to accept anyone else's beliefs or having to deny their own. During the meeting, I'll pass around a basket. If you'd like to contribute to rent and coffee, it's always appreciated, but never necessary. Is there anybody new or visiting who would like to introduce themselves? It's also not necessary. If you'd like. Well, welcome. Nice to have you. We'll get back. We'll get to that in a little bit. We recognize extended periods of sobriety. Is there anybody who would like to recognize an extended period of sobriety? Okay. We're going to begin the meeting with a 20 to 30 minute talk here with Ginny. And I suppose she's probably going to share with us how her life's been affected by sobriety or what happened before. Afterwards, we're going to take the remainder of the hour to discuss that amongst the group. And if at that time you would like to discuss anything else that's off topic or on your mind, that would be the time, and you're more than welcome. And you're also, we're going to pass around the mic. If it comes to you, you're not obligated to share. You can just pass the mic. If you would like to share and not be included on our recording, you can, set down the microphone or tell us afterwards and we will delete it. But otherwise, we're going to post this whole meeting online and to our podcast. Our website is secularaaspeaker.org. You can find all of the past talks on there. And I don't know if you decide you're uncomfortable with that or something afterwards, just let me know and I'll make sure that everything's completely anonymous or removed to your liking. After the meeting, we hang around and chat. If you'd like to extend the conversation, some of us will introduce ourselves as alcoholics, but feel free to introduce yourself as however you feel comfortable. And this is an open meeting, so there are people who are not alcoholics here. Friends, family, or people who are affected by us in the community are more than welcome to come and check it out. And that's all the formalities. I'm happy to introduce Ginny, and you can take it from here.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Ginny. I'm an alcoholic.
Hey, Ginny.
Glad to be here. I was not looking forward to this. When I saw Simon's text asking me to do this, I screamed an expletive so loudly that Maury came in from another room and said, "What's the matter? What's the matter?" And I said, I was afraid this was going to happen. But no, I was really happy to do it for a lot of reasons. One is that I love this group so much, and I am a part of this group, and so I want to do everything I can to be a part of this group. And the other one, the primary one, is that I gave me a chance to really ponder my sobriety and my life before and after my sobriety. And I want to say before I go any further that I have now and have always had a wonderful life. I had some rough times in my drinking days that were not fun, kind of tortured, but I have always had a wonderful life. I had wonderful parents who were a lot of fun and gave me everything I needed and loved me unconditionally. I have 2 amazing sons, one of whom is here right now, Ben, and his fiancée, Abby. And every mother loves their sons or loves their kids, but thinks they're special. But I'm telling you, these guys really are. And I have my husband, Maury, who most of you know, who's been with me through it all and knew me before. Well, I'll go into that later. But so Maury is my strength and he's generous and fun, and I couldn't do it without you. So thank you. And I feel the same way about all of you in this room. I really have such a love for all of you. In addition to all that, I have the disease of alcoholism. And I came by that naturally. I came by that straight down the family tree. As far back as I know anyway, my grandfather on my mother's side was an alcoholic. My mother had a touch of alcoholism, although she told me that it skipped a generation. And, I have 2 sons, one of whom has it. So I really believe that this is a family disease, and I got it. And it's just fine. If somebody gave me a list of all the chronic, incurable, progressive, and possibly fatal diseases I might get, I would pick this one. So the book says, our stories disclose in a general way what we used to be like, what happened, and what it's like now. And so that's what I'm going to do tonight. And I'm not going to go through all the gory details because, everybody in this room has their own gory details, and we all have had different specific experiences, but I think in general we all have a lot of the same things. And so what I decided to do is just to say, I'm just like you and almost everybody in this room who is alcoholic and all the millions of other alcoholics out there. I'm going to throw out a few buzzwords and see if any of these ring true to you. I tried to control my drinking. I would decide that I would not drink during the week, or I would not drink before 5, or I would drink only on Sundays or whatever. I really tried to, and I think every alcoholic has tried to control their drinking at some point, and of course that doesn't work. I hid my drinking in various ways. I hid it in places around the house. I covered my tracks by putting water in a wine bottle that had gotten too low, and I didn't want anybody to know that I'd had that much wine, as if they couldn't tell. Blacking out, passing out, falling down. AA is the land of nods. Hangovers. Oh my God, hangovers. I still wake up every day grateful that I don't have a hangover. Swearing off. I swore off alcohol probably 5 times a week and said, I'm never going to do this again. How did this happen? I did it again. And then there I would do it again. And maybe that night. I'd go to different stores to get my alcohol because I didn't want the CVS clerk here to know that I was drinking this much, so I'd go to the other CVS store. I would change my drinks. I decided that if I drank martinis, that I wouldn't get drunk. I drank in the morning because how else are you supposed to get over a hangover? I was ashamed. I was tortured. I took all the online tests that you take to find out if you're an alcoholic. And we just moved recently, and I was going through old stuff in drawers, and I found the first test I ever took, which was mimeographed. That's how long ago I've been wondering if I'm an alcoholic. And so I had a strange relationship with the truth. I avoided it when it suited me. Let's see, what else did I have here? So I'm sure we all have a lot of those kinds of things that we could add to or take away, but one thing that I'm 99% certain that we all have in common is that once we started to drink, we could not stop. Once that first drink passed my lips, I was done. I used to wake up in the morning and think, God, why did I have that last drink? And I never knew that it wasn't the last drink that got me, but it was the first drink that got me. So I had all that going on. And I also had a job and a big life. I had a car and a house and a family and a husband and a baby, and somehow I managed to stay sober during my pregnancy, which I'm very grateful for. Although right after my first son was born, a friend of mine called and said, "Is there anything I can get you? I'm going to come see you tonight." And I said, "Yes, I'd like a martini." So he brought me all the makings of a martini at the hospital. I thought this was all normal. I really did. I thought this is the way everybody acted. So I had a big life, and I was an alcoholic that it was struggling to keep it under control and try to keep it quiet and try to show the world that I was really very functional, but inside I was a mess. So that's what I was like then. And what happened was I got sober in 1987. This is not my first rodeo. My husband and I had been to a 35th birthday party of a friend, my best friend, at a swanky club, and I got drunk, and I don't remember coming home. I don't remember anything until waking up the next morning and having my husband tell me that when he got home from taking the babysitter, our 2-year-old son was crawling around the house by himself with the doors open in a December night in Kansas City. And I thought, well, that's not good. That is not good. I remembered, I didn't know what to do. I was desperate. I did not know what I was going to do because I couldn't trust myself to quit drinking. And I remembered I was on a not-for-profit board one time in the medical world, and there was a nurse on that board who said she had noticed that the people who did best in group therapy were those people who had been to Alcoholics Anonymous. And a light bulb went on. I thought, oh my God, I could go to AA. Never had occurred to me. I'd never rejected the idea. It just had never occurred to me. And so I did what any self-respecting alcoholic would do, and I called the central office and told them that I had a friend who needed help. And they told me, wondered where I lived, and I said, oh, Waldo area, and they got me set up at a meeting right down the street, 79th, it was in the old bank building. You remember that building, that meeting? And I went, and I didn't tell anybody I was going, and I was so scared. I drove in. You have to drive through this parking lot kind of in the bowels of the building, and I fully expected to see people in trench coats and bottles in brown paper bags lurking in corners. And instead what I found when I walked in the room was that wonderful convivial hum of conversation and the smell of coffee and the smell of cigarettes, because you could still smoke in meetings then. And I was all in. I I got into AA big time. I spoke at, my anniversaries. I'd stand at the podium and I'd speak. I got a sponsor. I worked the steps. I helped organize a babysitting group so that people who had kids could still come to meetings, and so that same little darling 2-year-old that I left crawling around the house all by himself that night was now going to AA meetings with me, and life was great. It was wonderful. And then we moved, and we moved far away from this wonderful safety net that I had of my AA group here on Warnell at 79th Street. And I tried a few meetings where we were living, and I did not approve of them. I just thought, this isn't the way that they did it at the old group, and so I'm not going anymore. And I didn't drink. I did not drink, but I did not go to meetings. I raised my kids. I am so grateful that I did not raise my kids as a drunk mom. I am really happy that that didn't happen, because they don't have that to deal with. I didn't go to meetings, but I didn't drink. I was just the mom who didn't drink. I ran a business. I kept house. I got involved in the community. I did everything that 30-something people do, and did it well. It was just like fine. And I didn't drink. And I didn't go to meetings. And somehow I stayed sober. Then I got divorced, and I didn't drink through that, and I didn't go to meetings. And I moved back closer into town where I could have reintegrated with my AA people, and I didn't do it. I still always considered myself a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I was very connected to people in AA, but I didn't really think I wanted to do that anymore. So then life went on, and the kids were in high school, and all the things that go along with having kids in high school were happening, and some challenges were arising, and I didn't drink. But you know what else I didn't do? I didn't go to meetings. So then I fell in love with Maury, and that was wonderful. And Maury and I bought a house, moved in, didn't drink, didn't go to meetings. But right around that time, it had been about 16 years since I'd been sober. And around that time, people started whispering in my ear, I don't think you really are an alcoholic. You've been through so much. You've been through a lot of therapy, and I think you could drink again. And I heard it. I heard those things when people said that to me, and I filed them away because I obviously thought maybe that would be something I might want to do someday. But I didn't do it. Then we got married, and we had our wedding at our house, and it was wonderful, and we had a champagne toast, and I remember somebody, I don't know who, thrust a glass of champagne in my hand, and I held it, and I realized what I had in my hand, and I said, somebody better take this out of my hand before I drink it. And my friend Landa, who's got 45 years of sobriety, said, I'll take that, and she took it away and put it somewhere. So that was the closest I had come at that point to really being close to alcohol. We went on our honeymoon to the most beautiful place I had ever been to at that point in my life. It was in Northern California, and it was rustic, and it was elegant, and it was on the ocean and in the forest. And we walked to our cabin up a beautiful, I don't know what kind of wood it was, pathway surrounded by trees and rocks and lichen and all the things that you think of when you think of Northern California. Walked down some beautiful steps and into our cabin, and on the table in our cabin was a cool tray. Never forget that tray. It was wooden, and it had a bottle of champagne on it and 2 champagne glasses with strawberries in the bottom. And I said to Maury, I think I'm going to have some of that. And he went, What? And I said, yeah, it's my honeymoon. I can have some champagne on my honeymoon. And he said, okay. Now, in Maury's defense, I want you all to realize that he did not know me then. He didn't know alcoholism. He didn't know what it means. He'd never been really associated with alcoholics, and he certainly didn't know what happened to me when I drank. So he really thought, okay, she's going to have this glass right now, and then that'll be it. We'll move on. But the truth is that the second I had that glass of champagne, that is the only thing I could think about. It was on my mind from that moment on. In fact, we were sitting at the pool the next day. I remember looking across at the couple across the way, and they had one of those cool stands with the champagne bottle, and it was all wrapped in the towel, and it looked so lovely. And I was trying to telegraph to Maury, get the champagne, get the champagne, get the champagne, because I couldn't ask for it because I didn't drink. So we finally started going to the restaurant in the resort that had splits of champagne. So that was just a little. So all this while, I really did not believe that champagne was alcohol. And I know that just sounds, to some of you, probably impossible to fathom, but I was in such denial that it was alcohol. It was festive and it was fun. So I continued to drink champagne whenever I could get him to be the one to suggest it, because I didn't want to take responsibility for it. So we got home from our honeymoon. Everything was pretty good. I started finding all the restaurants in Kansas City that sold champagne by the glass, because that way it wouldn't really be drinking, because if I ordered a bottle of champagne, then that would really be drinking. And so I was still working really well with this denial. I didn't drink. And if you'd have asked me, do you drink? I would have said no. Maury was the only one who knew that I was drinking the champagne. And then pretty soon I'd go to the CVS and I'd see the Frexnet. Remember that? It was the cheapest. It was $7.99 on sale. And I'd find out when they had sales, and I'd go get that, and then we'd have champagne, or Maury would have half a glass of wine or something like that, and we did that for a while, and then pretty soon it became obvious to me that it was alcohol, and I thought, well, if I'm drinking champagne, I might as well drink wine, and that was that. It was just off to the races. And I drank for 3 years, and it was not good. It was not good. I did all the things that I told you. Everything I just told you. I went through. I did then, and I was both the kids were gone. They were at school, college, and so I was comforted by that I didn't have to deal with them. But, I had a varied group of friends, and I had certain people that I could go drink with and certain people that didn't know I drank. And so it was so hard for me to manage all these different Ginnies, because I couldn't be fully me in any group. So that's the way that one went. And then one of the great sayings that I've picked up in AA over the years is that if you don't remember your last drunk, you haven't had it. Remember that? Mm-hmm. So I remember mine. Maury traveled a lot in those days, and the kids were gone, and I could drink. I could drink whenever I wanted to. And we had a friend who owned a restaurant, and it was a bistro, and it had wine, and it was small, and it was fun, and we would always go there and drink and eat and have a good time with friends. And so I called him, and I said, hey, if I make you some deviled eggs, will you come pick me up and take me to the restaurant He said, sure. So I made the deviled eggs. He picked me up. And that is the last thing I remember. I remember until I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning, fully clothed on my bed, lights blaring, and my son home from college. And it was the same son. So that time, I knew that was that. I was done. And I somehow found my way down to Unity. I walked down the hill to the meetings, and I sat there, and I would have done, if they had told me you have to crawl on your hands and knees down Warnell to get here every day in order to stay sober, I would have done it. I did everything they told me to do, and it was, I got a sponsor, I worked the steps, I tried so hard to find a higher power. I held hands after the meetings, I said the Lord's Prayer, I said the Serenity Prayer, because I did not want to drink again. After I got a little sobriety under my belt and felt pretty comfortable, I started resisting the kind of sexist tone of AA, traditional AA, and the higher power and the God and the praying. And I resisted it a lot, but I ignored it. I just made myself ignore it because I still paramount was not to drink. So I switched groups. I found another group that I thought maybe was a little less rigid. The dogma followed me, and I began to bring it up in meetings and talk about, why are we saying the Lord's Prayer? It's so exclusive. I mean, what about all the people who are alcoholics who are not Christians? I mean, why they're not going to feel welcome here? And what would happen would be that I would be patted on the head and told that pretty soon you'll get it. You'll get it if you just keep trying. Just keep trying. And I knew that if I quit going to meetings that I would drink again because I knew what had happened before, and that wasn't an option. And so I just kept going, and I just kept ignoring the God word, or I kept not saying it when they pray. And I had just decided that's the way it was going to have to be for me until one morning I was at a meeting and Brian announced that there was a secular AA group now. And that's when the sun came out for me. I went to my first meeting down at All Souls and was so stunned when there was no rigmarole at the beginning and all the reading of all the steps and the traditions and the moment of silence. And then at the end of the meeting, when the meeting just ended, we didn't all have to stand up and hold hands. I am not a hugger. I am not a hand holder. So this was wonderful. And what I have found in these groups is we have, in this group and in the St. Andrew's group, I find people who are like-minded, who are intellectually curious, who are willing to probe around on difficult topics without the stopgap rote response of God. I found friends. I love coming to AA now, and I feel so comfortable. I love the fact that we've got relapsers, we've got old timers, we've got all kinds of people in our group, and I gained so much from it. So I told you what I couldn't do and what horrible things were going on before when I was drinking, and I would just want to tell you what I can do now that I'm sober, because sobriety is I love being sober. I love being sober. And some of these will probably ring a bell to some of you too. I can drive anywhere I want, any time of day, and not look in the rearview mirror. I can go anywhere I want to go. I skipped so many events because I was afraid that I would get drunk and make a fool of myself. I didn't go to my college sorority reunion because of that. I was too afraid to go because I knew it would happen. I could take care of my parents when they were dying. so grateful that I was not drinking when that happened. I could be there for them. I can be there for my adult children now in appropriate ways. I can read. I can sew. I can knit. I can cook without cutting my fingers when I'm chopping. I can go to bars. We were at Pierpont's the other night, and I was just sitting there looking at that beautiful bar at Pierpont's and all that gorgeous liquor there, and I was thinking, I'm so grateful that I can look at that and see art and not see something that I want. I had no desire to consume it, but to be able to appreciate it. I can even talk in front of a group now. How about it? So I was obviously a prisoner of my disease. I mean, for sure. But my recovery has given me my freedom, and I am free to do whatever I want to do. I believe that recovery takes time. It takes time, and it takes a lot of meetings, and I think it takes maturity, and I think it takes age. All of the things that I've gained are not solely because I'm from AA, although if I weren't in AA, I wouldn't be able to recognize the wonders of my life right now. But, I'm 62. I learned a lot of stuff in my life. And so my primary message, though, is that it takes meetings. You got to go to meetings. I think for me, well, I'm never not going to meetings again. And I'm going to risk committing, blasphemy? Is that possible to do in a secular meeting? By reading, I kind of amended the version of the promises. It's the one thing in traditional AA that I really, really love is the promises. And I'm going to read them. I'm going to tell you that every single one of them has come true for me. And here they are. We are going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past, nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity, and we will know peace. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook on life will change. Fear of people and economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know, this is my favorite one, we will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. And we will suddenly realize that the group is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. So obviously I didn't set out to become an alcoholic. I don't think anybody does, but I would not want it any other way. I always say, and I truly believe, that we're the lucky ones. Thanks.
All right. I'm gonna start here with Greg, and we're gonna pass the microphone around in a circle. I'll also send her a little basket, probably around the other way, and go from there. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Greg. I'm an alcoholic, and I love this woman right here. She is just a wonderful person to know, and I'm so glad that you found us like we all found us, and we don't have to tread through so much of the gobbledygook, as you said. I'm glad that you did come tonight. You could come tonight and share those things with the understanding that we probably all did that dance. And certainly I was recognizing all of those things in myself. And it's kind of good to be reminded that, oh, yes, how we could lie here and lie there and lie there and appear so all right for a while. And then there is no more for a while. But thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Well, ditto. It was great, and thank you. many things that you describe I could connect with. But I think for purposes of what's important is that I too, were I to tell my story, would tell the consequence of making a move and falling away from a strong support network in AA, trying to find it, not finding it, and the consequences. So that played a very significant part in my relapse history. And I think that sometimes we don't give enough recognition to how important it is to be able, for any of us, not just seculars, but for any person who is searching to reconnect into AA, to be able to find a niche that they fit. And the risk of not finding that niche is so great. And I think you described that very well. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Emily, and I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Emily.
Ginny, I told someone the other day that I want to be you when I grow up. And it's not just because of your sobriety, but I see your sobriety, and it's incredibly inspirational for someone with less time, and definitely something to aspire to. So thank you for being my friend. And
I'm Kana, and I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Kana.
I want to thank you for coming and speaking, and I was really glad to hear your story, and it means a lot to me that you would do that, and I'm really glad that I picked you as my sponsor, and I really appreciate the guidance that you've given me over the past few weeks that we've been meeting and talking about the steps and the different things, and it means a lot to me to have your support, and I just want to thank you for that.
Hi, I'm Susan, and I'm just here to listen, and I really appreciate hearing your story, Ginny.
Hello, I'm John. I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, John.
Thank you very much, Jenny. This has become my favorite meeting of the week, and I think I've got a new appreciation for the stories that we share. I mean, there's a lot of similarities, but it seems like every week I get something unique from it, and I did today too. And so thank you very much for taking the time to do this. Appreciate it.
Hi, my name's Philip, and I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Philip.
I'm new to this, so I'm not exactly sure what I'm supposed to say or what I'm supposed to do. I did love your story, and I love the journey that you've been on, and I can appreciate it. There's so many things I want to say, but I just don't feel like it's my place. So I'm going to
Come back
to that.
I'm Abby. I'm just here to listen, and I'm so grateful that I got to hear. Thanks for sharing.
I'm Ben. I'm Jenny's son. And I think I thank you, and fairly often, maybe not enough, but for all that you've done for me. But I want to thank you guys and the greater AA community for what you've done for my mom and our family, and what you do for my brother. And so thank you.
I'm Maury, Ginny's husband, and I'm so happy to be here, and I'm so proud of you for tonight and for all these wonderful years together. And I'm so happy that I've got to know all these people, because you consider them your family, which makes them my family, and it's just so heartwarming and delightful to be here. And February 7th will be 115 months of sobriety for Ginny.
Track of my months.
Yes, she gets $1 every month. It's true. It's not progressive. It's just $1. So thank you all so much.
That's going to add up. Hi, my name is Wes. I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Wes.
First, Jenny, thank you for your story, and I'm proud to be a friend of yours. You bring to our group a sort of, you're always poised and elegant and articulate, and you bring just so much class and intelligence to our group, and you mean a lot to a lot of people. I took a whole bunch of notes because I'm a crazy person, but when you said that you could take care of your parents while they were dying, that I mean, my number one reason for remaining sober is, as my parents get older, I want to be there for them. That was huge for me to hear. Also, the part about the Lord's Prayer and how exclusionary that is to so many people. I love that you said that. And when I was a kid, I remember waiting for my dad at the back door, and I was by myself. I was a young kid, and I had to pee, and I was holding it by the back door, waiting for my dad to get home. And so, when you said the thing about having a 2-year-old left alone in the house, anyway, that just really struck a chord with me. But thank you for sharing, and we all love you.
My name's Kevin. I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Kevin.
Very glad I made it this evening to hear you. I'm always amazed at the parallels between stories, no matter how different the people are. The parallels are great. And I, too, was, when I questioned the Lord's Prayer and things like that, was patted on the head and told that you'll get it, or you're just wacky, so you just don't fit in. And got tired of ignoring the dogma, and found secular AA much like you did. So once again, the commonalities are what I always look for, and they're always there. And I think that's what helps keep people sober, and I know it certainly does. It's the main thing that keeps me sober, is sharing with a group of people that I love, which is the secular community here in town. So thank you very much for speaking and taking your time. And it's never easy. It's no matter how many times you do it, it's never easy to do it. So thank you very much for taking your time and courage to do it. Thank you.
Thanks. Ginny, well, I'm Simon, actually. I'm an alcoholic, but Simon. Ginny, thank you. I don't know. I was gonna say my parents were rearing to party right after I was born. I think I was like a pain in the ass as far as like childbirth went. But they have this picture of me like in the middle of a house party, like on the floor in my crib, and like everybody's drinking and like smiling around me, but I'm just like passed out in the middle. I don't know. I think there's a lot of parents that are ready to get back to like the loose times. Right? I also was thinking about how much I appreciate this group's willingness to talk things out, like you had discussed. One thing that I had struggled with in AA was people who told me, you keep it up and it'll all come together. You'll get it eventually. If you, act this way, you'll eventually get it. And I really needed people to bounce ideas off of and exchange them. And, I didn't truly find that until I found this group, actually. It's been great. I also appreciate you just being a part of our group. I've learned a lot from you personally, and smile every time I get to see you. Is there anything you would like to?
I just want to thank everybody for being here. It's great to see everybody. Thank you so much. I appreciate you spending your Saturday night here with me. And I just love everybody. I've had such a wonderful, I don't know you yet, but everybody in here has got some really special place to me in my heart. So thanks, everybody. I think I'll keep coming back.
All right. Is there? Did anybody else think of something they would like to add to the discussion? Okie doke. Oh, was that a gesture? Yeah.
For the first time at a traditional AA meeting, I heard a very, very, very traditional AA member complain about the fact that there are increasingly, there's an increasing trend among groups to not say the Lord's Prayer. And it was a point of great contention for her. And that's the first time I'd heard it, even though I know that that is in fact the case. And I really, I felt quite sorry for her because I thought, what is her need? What is her need to be concerned about what other groups do? To either use that prayer or another prayer or a poem or whatever. And then I realized that what Kevin keeps reminding me of, and that's the Christianization of AA and how it's just rolling down the hill faster than we can push the issue of secular.
All right. I guess we've got a couple other groups. They've been mentioned a couple times already that meet on Mondays and Wednesdays directly across the street at St. Andrew's Church at 7 p.m. We've got Free Thinkers. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m., We Agnostics meets at All Souls Unitarian. Again, at All Souls Unitarian on Friday at noon, Saturday at noon. Or does Friday still meet? Yes. Friday at noon, Saturday at noon. And then the same group also meets on Sundays in the cafeteria at the KU Medical Center. What's the name of the room? The Wyandotte Room. And that is at 10 a.m. I think that's... Oh, shh. So Southwest Boulevard, what time and day? 11 o'clock. On when? What day? What day? Awesome. That's a wrap. Everybody, good job.